Today we're going to be cooking with one of my favorite food groups, garlic, garlic, and more garlic. This dish is amazing. It comes together super fast. It's a great weeknight meal and it's done all in one pot using your pressure cooker. Welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today's recipe is super simple. One pot garlic Parmesan chicken. Garlic, garlic, and more garlic. There is a ton of garlic in this dish. However, it is so well balanced that even if you aren't a garlic lover like I am, you are going to really enjoy this dish. First thing we want to do is get our chicken sauteing, and I like to saute it in some butter. So I'm going to use 4 tablespoons of butter and get it into the Ninja Foodi inner pot here. I'm using the 8-quart OL 701 because I want to use the programmable pressure release for this recipe, but it works in any pressure cooker. Okay, I've tested it out in the 2-lid model, the 6.5 quart. It works perfectly fine. So it's going to be the same no matter what size you have or what model. All right, let's go ahead and turn it on. We want to go to sear saute, and that's the default with the lid up and the slider all the way over. That's the default. So I'm just going to hit start. High is number 5, and that's what I want. And in here, I have my chicken breast already cubed up. It's 24 ounces, which was about 3 medium to large size chicken breast. Now, it doesn't matter if you want to cut back on that, if you want to go down to 12 ounces or 16 ounces, it's perfectly fine. The only difference will be that the chicken gives off liquid, and we compensate by using less liquid to cook the pasta. So if you're going to decrease your chicken, I would increase your liquid just a little bit. So if you took this down to a pound, I would probably increase your liquid to about a cup, okay? Or at least add a couple tablespoons extra in there. But this is 24 ounces and it works perfectly in this recipe, and I think it gives a really good balance of chicken to pasta. Now, if you wanted to stretch this further, okay, so you wanted to double the pasta, because I'm using 8 ounces, you can absolutely do that, but you do need to increase your liquid and probably decrease your time a little bit. But I'm going to go over all those details like I always do on my website in the written post, so that you can jump on over there and get all the little changes and you know, liquid amounts and things like that if you want to alter the recipe to make more or less. Okay? All right. Now, did I get the butter in? I did. Okay. So, and it's melting. So now let me get the chicken in. Now I have a total of 8 tablespoons of butter, but I only put in 4 at this point. Now dump in the chicken cubes. And the chicken is cubed up in about 1-inch cubes. That's what I like. Okay. So I like them to be small. You could make strips. You know, you can do anything you want. It's going to be fine. We're going to go under pressure long enough that even, you know, large strips of chicken would cook in the time that we're going to pressure cook. So that's no problem. All right, real quick, let's get the seasoning blend in. What I have is 1.5 teaspoons of fine grind sea salt, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Garlic, garlic, and more garlic. That's what this dish is all about. All right. Mix that up and just sprinkle it in there, okay? Now, I like to move the chicken around and then get it on the bottom here in as much of a single layer as possible, and then leave it alone and let it brown up some. That's the reason why I don't add all of the butter in right now, is because it steams more than browns. In fact, the 4 tablespoons might be doing the same thing based on what I'm seeing. So maybe even 2 tablespoons if you want nice browning on your chicken. All right, that's it for now. We just want to brown this chicken on both sides. So I'm gonna let it sit in the pot, not move it, for about 3 minutes or so. So let's talk about the rest of the garlic. So we've got the garlic powder in there. Now I'm gonna talk about the roasted garlic. 4 whole bulbs of roasted garlic. I kid you not. It is mild, it is delicious, and it gives the best flavor to this dish, okay? 4 whole bulbs, not 4 cloves, 4 whole bulbs of roasted garlic. And I'm gonna give you a workaround in just a minute in case you don't have time to roast your garlic ahead of time, okay? Now, the next thing, and I get it in right now so it can saute a little bit, is minced garlic. So this is just minced raw garlic, and it is about 1/2 tablespoon. It was about 6 smallish cloves, okay? You can use more if you want, or you can omit that. That would be fine. I mean, you can omit anything you want in a recipe, but this flavor is so amazing. It's so wonderful. The garlic, and then we had the Parmesan cheese at the end. Oh my gosh, it is so good. All right, so let's move this minced garlic around and flip our chicken. See if we're getting any browning. If not, I'm not gonna worry about it. It's not the end of the world. A little bit here and there. So we want that minced garlic. Oh, the smell of it. Oh, it's so delicious. All right, that looks good. Now let that sit for another 3 minutes. And let me talk about the workaround for the garlic. So you want to make this dish and you don't have time to put any whole garlic cloves in the air fryer. It only takes about 25 minutes, but if you don't have that time, I totally understand. Get 4 bulbs of garlic, peel them, remove the cloves, and put the cloves in whole. Okay, so remove the paper from each clove and put the cloves in whole. The pressure cook time is going to soften them, cook them, and because they are kept whole, they are going to be very mild. Not quite the same flavor profile as roasted, but still absolutely delicious, and it would go well in this recipe. All right, so let's go ahead and get our 4 bulbs of roasted garlic in there. And we're gonna put in our pasta next. The pasta is 8 ounces of rotini noodles. So these little, I call them like corkscrew looking things, okay? This is what I prefer in this recipe. Can you use penne? Absolutely. Can you use a different shape? Absolutely. As long as it's a thicker pasta like this, it's going to take the same amount of time. Now, if you wanted to use spaghetti with this, honestly, if you're gonna use spaghetti, I would go ahead and make my chicken carbonara, which uses spaghetti noodles. So I would follow those times and temperatures, and you can even add in extra garlic. It would be delicious. But if you want to use any kind of, short, kind of thick noodle that takes about 4 minutes to pressure cook, you're going to be good to go with this recipe. So it's perfectly fine. I'll go ahead and put it in just like that. We're going to put in the other 4 tablespoons of butter now. Totally optional. I mean, you don't have to add that extra butter. It does add a lot of calories and a lot of fat, but I just found it was delicious. Now, because that is considered a liquid because it'll melt, if you don't want to use all that butter, add a couple more tablespoons to your chicken stock, okay? And then just mix it all around. Smells so good. 3/4 cup of chicken stock, or you can use water. That would be fine. If you wanted to bring in a little wine into the dish, you could certainly do that. I would probably use about 1/4 cup of white wine to 1/2 cup of chicken stock or water, and that would be fine. All right, that's it. That's all there is to it. It really is that easy. Now we're gonna put the lid down. And because we want to go to a pressure cook, we need to move our slider. One thing about this model that I'm not really too fond of is you do have to almost like turn it off. So we have to stop it and then move it over to the pressure cook. And now I want to pressure cook for 4 minutes, and I want a 10-minute natural release. And that is because I'm using like the bare minimum of broth, okay? Because I don't want this a real soupy, liquidy dish at the end. I want it to be served, as a thicker kind of pasta dinner. So I don't want to add too much liquid now, or you just have to drain it off, and then you drain off the flavor. So in order to get the pasta cooked correctly, 4 minutes of high pressure cook time followed by 10 minutes of natural release is what made the pasta perfectly cooked for me, which is al dente. If you like your pasta cooked a little bit more, so it's a little bit softer, then take your time up to 5 or 6 minutes of pressure cook time, okay? All right, so this model, one of my favorite features of it, of all time, is the programmable pressure release. And that's why I chose it for this video, because I just think that's amazing. And I don't have to worry about anything. I just let the Ninja Foodi do the whole cooking process. First thing I need to do though is make sure that I'm on the seal position, which is down in this divot. So that's good. That's where we want to be. And then we want to go over here. So we want to set our time. So we're on high pressure, set our time for 4 minutes. That's what we want. And then I need to move my dial. So it says pressure here, and that says natural release. I want to go down. That says quick release. I want to go down to delayed release. As soon as I see delayed release, something pops up right here. If I press that, it turns to set. That means I'm setting my natural release time. And I want it to be for 10 minutes, okay? So it disappears pretty quickly. So I want it to be for 10 minutes, and then I can just hit start. Now what's gonna happen is the liquid's gonna boil, build the steam, put the pot under pressure. We're gonna pressure cook for 4 minutes, and then the Ninja Foodi's gonna do the countdown for me for the 10-minute natural release. I'll hear 3 beeps, and then the rest of the steam will release. We'll get our Parmesan cheese in, a little bit of cream, and we'll be all done. All right, so it took about 5 minutes to build the pressure. We went under pressure on high for 4 minutes, and then the Ninja Foodi did its own timed release. And during that, it says pressure release. It doesn't give you a countdown. So usually if I'm gonna be around, I'll set a timer or something so I know when it's gonna happen. But that's the beauty of it. You don't really have to know when it's gonna happen. It will switch over to keep warm, which with most foods, or many foods I should say, would be perfectly fine to just let it go and keep warm. But we've got pasta in here. We need to add a few ingredients. So I wanna be right here to finish up the dish. All right, so now it says open, and it's starting to count up. That means that we're on the keep warm, and it's keeping record of that. My pin is down, and believe it or not, what happens with this manual or programmable pressure release is the lid sort of lifts up, right? It doesn't go all the way over like that, but it just kind of lifts up. And the Ninja Foodi does that on its own. It's pretty cool. And it scares me each and every time, let me tell you. All right, once it says you can open the lid, you move the slider either to the center or to the right and open it up. And now we can take a peek and give it a stir around. Now, don't worry about the way it looks. Don't even worry if you think some of your pasta looks a little bit darker. It's not gonna make any difference because we still have to add in some cream and cheese. I start off with 4 ounces of grated Parmesan cheese, which is about 2.5 cups. You can use the pre-shredded kind in the bag. That's perfectly fine, but it may not melt quite as well, okay? You want a total of 4 ounces of grated Parmesan. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in. And then give it a stir around and let the heat from the pasta start to melt it. Then we add in our cream. If you wanted to cut down on the amount of cream, you could also add in a little bit more chicken stock if you wanted to. In fact, you could skip the cream altogether and just add in chicken stock. It won't be the same color, but it will still be delicious. Oh my gosh, I cannot even begin to explain how good this smells. I have 1 cup of heavy cream here. I'm only gonna start out with using half of a cup though, because we wanna see how much we need. A lot of times with a dish like this, you can get away with putting in a half of a cup and then going ahead and serving it. But then when you reheat the leftovers, you might need to add a little bit more of the cream. At least that's what I've found. All right, I mean, that looks delicious to me. Now, what would even make it a little bit prettier is if I had some spinach to like swirl in right now, so some fresh spinach to give it a little bit of green, but I don't have any here, so what I'm gonna do is grab some parsley and just put about a tablespoon of dried parsley and give it a little bit boost of color. You know what else would be good? Red pepper flakes. So if you like a little bit of heat, throw in some red pepper flakes right now. That looks a little better, right? Okay, I'll give that a mix around, and you could add more if you wanted, but I think that looks good. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit more cream in there, just a little bit, maybe another 1/4 cup. And then I'm gonna take it out and taste it for you. Another addition that would be really nice in here is like little tiny, already steamed broccoli florets added at the end. That would be really nice. Like I said, the spinach would be really nice. It's just, I don't know, it's just such an easy dish and it's so full of flavor. And if you wanted to not have the chicken, you could do shrimp with it too, okay? With shrimp, because they're so fast cooking, I might add them at the end, but I don't know. I've done a crab boil or shrimp boil in the foodie, and it was a long pressure cook time, and the shrimp actually were perfectly fine. So it might work out just dumping them in instead of the chicken, or with the chicken, so chicken and shrimp. All right, let's give it a taste. First, the pasta. I want to make sure that that's perfectly cooked. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, perfectly al dente. The garlic is amazing in this. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, the chicken. Wow. Oh my gosh, this is so, so good. Now, the garlic flavor. Yes, you can definitely get the pungent garlic from the minced garlic, but then the roasted garlic sort of balances that out. It is really, really delicious. I hope you give it a try. And add in spinach or some broccoli for a complete one-pot meal with your starch, your protein, and your vegetable.